Hey up. Right, I don't know whether you remember, but a few weeks ago I showed you MOTONE Custom's new GUVNOR fork caps. Not just any fork cap, but a brass work of art designed to complement the Boss steering head nuts. I've now got a new version to show you, which is a prototype for the Triumph Bonneville Bobber Black. But first of all, I made a little mistake in that video over compatibility with models. Now, I got my wires crossed slightly. I mentioned that it fits the liquid cooled T100, the 41mm bobber, the standard bobber, the early Street Twins and the early Street Scrambler. But what I didn't realise at the time is that it also fits the air-cooled T100 Bonnevilles. So I suppose at some stage I really should do a fitting video on my air-cooled T100. My apologies for any confusion that may have caused. Now, for anyone that might have missed out, I will leave a link for these again, because I would wager that there are more air-cooled T100s on the road than there are liquid-cooled versions. And don't forget, you do get an exclusive 12% discount with MOTONE Customs through this channel. The discount code is CACTUS, and I will leave that in the video description down below. While I'm on the subject of these discount codes, this is an exclusive discount to viewers of this channel, and because of that, MOTONE change it periodically. I mean, we don't want it being available to the riffraff on Facebook. It is just a YouTube discount for this channel. Now, some people are having problems with this. I know I've mentioned it before, but I'm going to go over it again because it's not got any better. I put the current code in the video description of each MOTONE related video. I've even in the past put it up as a title during the video, so people are in no doubt as to what the code is. But people are still emailing myself and Sam and leaving comments in the comments section telling me that they want to purchase something from MOTONE but they don't know what the current code is. I seriously am at a loss as to how to make it easier for these people. Now, I suspect that some people know that these discounts are running, but they can't be bothered to watch the videos and figure it's just easier to chip in on any video and ask me the question or email myself or Sam. But that's not how it works, and you will not be able to obtain the discount code that way. You have to watch the latest MOTONE video to get the latest discount code. It's as simple as that. So I'll say it again one more time. The latest MOTONE Customs discount code through this channel is CACTUS. That's C-A-C-T-U-S. CACTUS. It's one of those prickly green things that grow in the desert. Now, in just a moment, I'm going to show you how to fit the new version that's due to be released quite soon to the Bobber Black, because different versions of the liquid cooled twins have their own different sort of idiosyncrasies, so I can't really make a one-size-fits-all fitting video for these. I'm going to have to bring out several. I think there's going to be 3 versions of the GUVNORs altogether, maybe 4. But first of all, can I ask you please, if you're not a subscriber, to subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell and ensure that your notifications are enabled. It helps this channel out and gets me closer to my goal of that silver play button from YouTube, which I'm absolutely determined to achieve this year. And it would also be rather lovely if you would leave a like. Only if you actually like this video. Obviously you don't have to. If you don't like this video, you can actually leave a dislike. It's all the same to me. Right, let's get on. Now, in order to bring out a brass version of the GUVNOR for the Bobber Black, they basically had to supersize it, because obviously the Bobber Black has 47mm diameter fork stanchions. Now, the procedure for the left and right fork leg are not the same. In fact, they're very different, due to the fact that the right hand fork leg has a damper cartridge fitted. So it's a completely different methodology to swapping that fork cap to the one in the left hand leg. Now, I don't suppose it really matters which side you start with first, but I started with the left hand leg, which needs the bike to be raised so that the weight is off the front wheel. You don't have to jack the bike right up into the air, just as long as the weight is off the front wheel. Now, the next bit is optional, but I think it's good practice because you've got to get a large 36mm socket on those fork caps, is to slacken off your switchgear on both sides so that you can just swivel the cables out of the way to make access easier. You might be able to work around them, but I just found it's easier to concentrate if you can get it well out of the way to make easy access. You're then going to need a decent quality 36mm socket. You may have to purchase one of these separately. They don't usually come as standard in your average socket set, but a 36mm does come in handy from time to time on the Triumph Bonnevilles, and you are going to need one if you ever have to change your front sprocket. Now, the OEM fork caps are made from a very, very soft aluminium, and they will mark if you give them so much as a hard stare. So if you intend reusing them or keeping them, it is probably a good idea to give them some protection to guard against marring. I just used a clean workshop wipe. It's fairly tough stuff. It was sort of successful. Actually, no, it wasn't. It did still mark them. So probably something more substantial. Personally, I don't care because I won't be reusing the OEM versions. Now, this left-hand fork leg has quite a lot of preload on it, so be aware of that. It is going to jump up and protrude 2 or 3 inches once you've removed the cap, and that's why it's important that you have the weight off that front wheel while you're doing this side. These caps do have quite a long thread on them, so it does take a little bit of time to sort of unscrew it and get it out, but just cover it near the end to make sure that it doesn't escape when that pressure's finally released. Now, as far as I'm aware, this set that I have are the only set in existence. In fact, the main reason these were sent to me were to ensure that they do fit correctly. And the set that I have didn't come with any O-rings. Whether the production version will or not, I don't know. But for me, it was necessary to remove the O-rings from the OEM caps and then replace those O-rings onto the new GUVNOR caps. Now, with these MOTONE versions, it doesn't matter what cap you use on what side. They've made them both compatible with the damper rod on the cartridge side, just to make it easier for you. These GUVNORs are a lot tougher than the OEM caps, but I would still recommend that you put something on there to protect the finish. I used a little bit of masking tape, which isn't ideal, but it did the job. You'd probably be better with some duct tape or maybe even electrical tape, something like that. Then using a bit of firm pressure, and I would also recommend that you use your ratchet from your socket set. Push that cap down and then carefully start to turn it until you can feel the thread engaging. It is a little bit fiddly, but I assure you there's not a huge amount of pressure on these springs, providing you've got your front wheel slightly off the ground. Now, according to my Haynes manual, this should be tightened up to 22 Newton meters, but it's not specific in the manual to the BOBBER Black, so it may be different. I would advise that you either get in touch with your local dealership and just ask them what the torque setting should be, or use a bit of common sense. I just used the common sense method. Once you've fastened it all the way in, remove your tape or whatever it is that you've used, and you're ready to get started on the other side, the right hand side. Now, on the right hand side, use exactly the same method to unscrew your fork cap. But what you're going to find is it will reach a point where it just starts clicking and won't come out. That's because the damper cartridge is holding it in. Now, to release the pressure on it so that you can actually get at it to remove it, because it's held in by the damper rod, you need to put the weight of your bike back on that front wheel. But do not do this until you have securely replaced the left hand cap. Otherwise, you're going to be in a whole world of pain. Do one at a time. Now, putting the weight back on the front wheel effectively pushes the cap up and gives you access to the 14mm hex damping rod underneath. And you'll need to get a fairly slim 14mm open-ended spanner onto this to hold it in place while you unscrew the fork cap from it. And once you've slackened it off, you can just unscrew the cap from the damping rod and remove it. There's no need to worry about the damping rod falling back into the fork leg on this one. It doesn't, it protrudes, which is good because it makes it easier to refit your new fork cap, unlike the Triumph T120. You then follow exactly the same procedure. You swap your O-ring from your OEM cap onto your new MOTONE governor, and then you can go ahead and attach the governor to that damping rod. Tighten it up, and then it's time to refit the cap. You are not going to be able to screw this cap back in with the weight of the bike on the front wheel, so again it's going to be necessary to jack the bike back up and take the weight off the front wheel. And doing this will effectively pull the fork cap back into the stanchion, ready for you to screw it in. In fact, once you've done this, it's far easier to screw this into place than it is on the left hand side. And that really is all there is to it. Now, as I've already said, I will in the very near future be doing a similar video for the governors for the air-cooled T100 and those other liquid-cooled models that I've talked about earlier in the video. I will also, when they become available, demonstrate the method for fitting these to bikes like the T120, which again have a damping rod, but it's a different fitting procedure to the one that we've got here. Now, I think it's fair to say that most custom parts manufacturers tend to just concentrate on making parts for the most popular models, which means a lot of people end up getting left out. And it does leave me just a little bit in awe that MOTONE Customs are ensuring that there is a version available for all LC and AC Bonneville owners. Now, MOTONE have named this particular part the GUVNOR XL for obvious reasons, because it's an extra large version. And it's not entirely clear to me at the moment which other models this will fit. I think probably the Speedmaster, and I think Sam did mention that he suspected it would fit another model as well, but I can't remember which one it was. But rest assured, I will give you the full details when these become available. MOTONE will commence production of these from this week, and there will only be a limited run. After all, bikes like the BOBBER Black are fairly low volume sellers. So I will leave a link in the video description down below, along with the discount code CACTUS, which will take you to a page where you can register your interest in this part when it becomes available. Now, there's no commitment on your part. If when it comes to it you decide you don't want it, that's not a problem, but MOTONE will inform you when it becomes available. Now, briefly before I go, I'm often asked about the upkeep of these brass parts. It's not really a problem. I personally prefer to allow them to sort of mellow and tarnish a little bit with age. In fact, some people soak these in white vinegar for 24 hours before fitting them, so they take on that aged patina before they go on the bike. But if you do like bright and shiny, Meguiar's next generation metal polish is all that's required. I literally spent about a minute and a half on the boss on this bike just to brighten it up for the photo shoot. It's really efficient and easy to use stuff, and it does leave a protective coating that lasts for quite some time. And again, I'll leave a link in the video description down below for those people that have been asking. So that's about it for this video. Next week sometime, I'm not sure which date will be, but I will be producing a video on fitting the new MOTONE stainless steel exhaust clamps, because the fitting procedure is a little bit different from the older alloy ones, and I'll just quickly run through that to update people. Once again, thank you so much for watching this and my other videos, and in doing so helping to support this channel. Seriously, I do appreciate it. I also hope that you've enjoyed this video and found it useful. I'm going to let this video play out now with a little brass bike porn set to music. So until Friday, please, if you're riding, ride safely, and I'll see you soon.